High-end audio is a world full of superlatives. And with the Nagra Tube DAC, we definitely arrived in the world of high-end, if not ultra high-end. But what is it that makes it so special? Is it really one of the best DACs of all time? That's what we're gonna find out today. With the Nagra Tube DAC, we definitely enter into the world of high-end audio. It's a digital to analog converter that translates your music from a digital signal into an analog signal. Essentially, the interpreter between bits and sound. Some people claim that actually all digital to analog converters do sound the same. I'm definitely not one of them. Even in the 1,000 euro league, so I would say entry level, I can hear clear differences. And they are staggering differences. And that directly switched from one to another and level matched. And if that holds true in this price range, what more can we expect of a device that costs 35 to 40,000 euros, depending on the configuration with power supply and baseplate. The Nagra Tube DAC is designed and manufactured in Switzerland, and that you notice unmistakably and immediately. It's flawless. I would call the design quite unique, maybe with a hint of cyberpunk, which I find really cool. The form factor to some extent resembles that of the 200 series of T+A, but it has definitely quite more character. Especially those switches, I find them really cool. One thing that really surprised me was the weight. That little box just weighs 5 kilograms. But make no mistake, I never felt that corners were cut. The build quality is unmistakably ultra high. There's one unique feature that we have to mention when talking about the Nagra Tube DAC, and that is that it always performs the digital to analog conversion in DSD format. That means when you play DSD, it takes that and converts it to analog. But when you feed it with PCM signals, it takes those PCM signals and it converts it internally into DSD, and only then does it do the digital to analog conversion. And the whole idea behind that? Achieving the most natural, organic playback possible. But now let's finally come to the question, how does the Nagra actually sound? And to express my findings, I've chosen 7 tracks that I think are fit for purpose to explain why I really like the Nagra Tube DAC. The first one is London Grammar's Hey Now. The second one is Leonard Cohen's You Want It Darker. The third one is Steve Strauss's Just Like Love. The fifth one is Tosco's Dinner at Wolfie's, maybe a lesser known track. The sixth one is Korn's Falling Away From Me. Maybe not an audiophile track, but a cool one. The seventh is Jazz at the Pawn Shop, and there specifically How High the Moon. And then lastly, a more audiophile track, which is classical music, and specifically Beethoven's Adagio Molto, Allegro con Brio. These tracks cover various sonic aspects that I find particularly important. Soundstage, vocal presentation, bass quality and natural dynamics. Let's dive in. Let's start with the soundstage and spatiality of the audio reproduction. The soundstage is widely extended and with an excellent layering in depth. That's particularly noticeable in You Want It Darker from Leonard Cohen. He's standing a bit more to the front and a tad higher than I'm used to, and I must say I really like it. And he's very well embedded and surrounded by the choir. Really good. But also Hey Now from London Grammar, these ethereal vocals, they really do kind of float in the room. I can say even effortlessly in space. And that with an almost tangible presence. The layering of instruments there is exceptionally great, making it a unique experience that makes you able to pinpoint each and every element of the mix. Now let's come to instruments, separation and detail. The placement of instruments is precise and every detail is clearly audible. Especially impressive is the fine buzz of the guitar strings on Steve Strauss's Just Like Love. This shows how cleanly the Nagra is able to separate. There's no overlapping or no blurring. Let's come to vocal presentation. And again, I have to mention Cohen's voice on You Want It Darker. That's really impressive. It's pure goosebumps. His breath in I'm Ready, My Lord is almost supernaturally realistic. Also, Steve Strauss and his track Just Like Love, he's so clearly positioned in that room and the voice is as it's supposed to be, without any harshness, but with a wonderful warmth to it. But we audiophiles also want to have a little fun at times, so let's talk about the bass reproduction. The bass is powerful and really deep, yet always controlled. On Dinah Wolfies, you can feel the blackness that adds a spatial depth to that sound. Also on Korn's Falling Away From Me, those bass hits are massive, but never overdone. That's what I call convincing. Let's come to the dynamics and naturalness. The dynamics are incredibly natural. Let's take Beethoven's number 1, the track that I mentioned, and even, especially those quieter passages, they show how finely the Nagra resolves while remaining powerful. It's a true feeling as if you were in a concert, without any compression artifacts or harshness. Also, the vibrato on Just Like Love from Steve Strauss is sensationally authentic. There's one special thing that we need to talk about when discussing the Nagra Tube DAC. When you feed the Nagra a Redbook CD quality signal, 44.1 kHz, 16 bits, it clearly sets itself apart from my T+A DAC 200. The higher you go up the resolution chain in PCM, the more the T+A actually catches up. So the Nagra is, I dare to say, better, but the T+A wins quite a bit from those higher resolutions. And then when it comes to DSD, I would say they are even on par, which is it's actually saying a lot about the quality of that true 1-bit converter coming from Herford here in Germany. So, is the Nagra Tube DAC the best DAC of all times? Before I conclude, a very important note. This is not what I would call a HiFi-Tom review. I've only had the Nagra Tube DAC for 3 weeks and my minimum time is usually between 4 and 6 weeks. It all depends a bit on how much time I can dedicate to listening. Luckily, I had a lot of time that I could listen to the Nagra DAC, but it would have deserved even more time. So what remains? The Nagra Tube DAC is impressive. I seriously considered buying it used because it is so good. And that still remains a sizable spend. I decided not to do that because it would have forced me to also buy a preamplifier right away. And also my budgets are just tied up in other projects at the moment. So for now I'm sticking with my current solution, but the Nagra Tube DAC is definitely worth being considered. It's a pretty darn good DAC. I must say probably the best one I've heard to date. So now the question, what do you guys think? Do you believe DACs do make a difference? Please write it down in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. And now, last but not least, if you enjoyed the video, I would very much appreciate a thumbs up, like the video, share it, and also subscribe to my channel for more content of that nature. And by subscribing, you also let me know that I'm on the right track and that I'm producing content that you actually enjoy. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the music. Have a good one. Bye.